The Project Gutenberg ebook of Now We Are 6. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. Title: Now We Are 6. Author: A A Milne. Illustrator: Ernest H. Shepard. Release date: April 9, 2023. Ebook number 70516. Most recently updated May 5, 2024. Language: English. Original publication: United States, E.P. Dutton & Co., Inc., 1927. Credits: Greg Weeks, Mary Meehan, and the online distributed proofreading team at http://www.pgdp.net. Start of the Project Gutenberg ebook Now We Are 6. Now We Are 6 by A. A. Milne with decorations by Ernest H. Shepard. New York: E.P. Dutton & Co., Inc. Now We Are 6, copyright 1927, by E.P. Dutton & Co., Inc. All rights reserved. Printed in USA. First printing Sept. 1927. 10th printing September. 1927. 20th printing September. 1927. 30th printing September. 1927. 33rd printing September. 1927. 35th printing November. 1927. 40th printing November. 1927. 45th printing November. 1927. 50th printing November. 1927. 55th printing December. 1927. 60th printing December. 1927. 65th printing December. 1927. 70th printing December. 1927. 74th printing December. 1928. 78th printing September. 1929. 80th printing May. 1930. 84th printing May. 1931. 86th printing July. 1932. 89th printing July. 1933. New edition August. 1935. 91st printing August. 1935. 94th printing August. 1935. To Anne Darlington. Now she is 7 and because she is so special. Now We Are 6. Introduction. When you are reciting poetry, which is a thing we never do, you find sometimes, just as you are beginning, that Uncle John is still telling Aunt Rose that if he can't find his spectacles he won't be able to hear properly, and does she know where they are, and by the time everybody has stopped looking for them, you are at the last verse, and in another minute they will be saying, thank you, without really knowing what it was all about. So, next time, you are more careful, and, just before you begin you say, ERHRM, very loudly, which means, now then, here we are, and everybody stops talking and looks at you, which is what you want. So then you get in the way of saying it whenever you are asked to recite, and sometimes it is just as well, and sometimes it isn't. And by you find yourself saying it without thinking. Well, this bit which I am writing now, called Introduction, is really the ERHRM of the book, and I have put it in, partly so as not to take you by surprise, and partly because I can't do without it now. There are some very clever writers who say that it is quite easy not to have an ERHRM, but I don't agree with them. I think it is much easier not to have all the rest of the book. What I want to explain in the introduction is this. We have been nearly 3 years writing this book. We began it when we were very young, and now we are 6. So, of course, bits of it seem rather babyish to us, almost as if they had slipped out of some other book by mistake. On page whatever it is there is a thing which is simply 3ish, and when we read it to ourselves just now we said, well, and turned over rather quickly. So we want you to know that the name of the book doesn't mean that this is us being six all the time, but that it is about as far as we've got at present, and we have think of stopping there. AAMP.SPU wants us to say that he thought it was a different book, and he hopes you won't mind, but he walked through it one day, looking for his friend Piglet, and sat down on some of the pages by mistake. Contents: Solitude, King John's Christmas, Busy Sneasels, Binker, Cherry Stones, The Knight Whose Armor Didn't Squeak, Buttercup Days, The Charcoal Burner, US2, The Old Sailor, The Engineer, Journey's End, Furry Bear, Forgiven, The Emperor's Rhyme, Knight in Armor, Come Out With Me, Down by the Pond, The Little Black Hen, The Friend, The Good Little Girl, A Thought, King Hilary and the Beggar, Ermine, Swing Song, Explained Twice Times, The Morning Walk, Cradle Song, Waiting at the Window, Pinkle Per Wind on the Hill, Forgotten in the Dark, The End, Now We Are Six, Solitude, I have a house where I go when there's too many people, I have a house where I go where no one can be, I have a house where I go, where nobody ever says no, where no one says anything, so there is no one but me. King John's Christmas. King John was not a good man, he had his little ways. And sometimes no one spoke to him for days and days and days. And men who came across him, when walking in the town, gave him a supercilious stare, or passed with noses in the air, and bad King John stood dumbly there, blushing beneath his crown. King John was not a good man, and no good friends had he. He stayed in every afternoon, but no one came to tea. And, round about December, the cards upon his shelf which wished him lots of Christmas cheer, and fortune in the coming year, were never from his near and dear, but only from himself. King John was not a good man, yet had his hopes and fears. They'd given him no present now for years and years and years. But every year at Christmas, while minstrels stood about, collecting tribute from the young for all the songs they might have sung, he stole away upstairs and hung a hopeful stocking out. King John was not a good man, he lived his life aloof, alone he thought a message out while climbing up the roof. He wrote it down and propped it against the chimney stack, to all and sundry near and far, F Christmas in particular. And signed it not Johannes R. but very humbly, Jack. I want some crackers, and I want some candy, I think a box of chocolates would come in handy, I don't mind oranges, I do like nuts. And I should like a pocket knife that really cuts. And, oh, Father Christmas, if you love me at all, bring me a big, red India rubber ball. King John was not a good man, he wrote this message out, and gat him to his room again, descending by the spout. And all that night he lay there, a prey to hopes and fears. I think that's him a coming now, anxiety bedewed his brow. He'll bring one present, anyhow the first I've had for years. Forget about the crackers, and forget about the candy, I'm sure a box of chocolates would never come in handy, I don't like oranges, I don't want nuts, and I have got a pocket knife that almost cuts. But, oh, Father Christmas, if you love me at all, bring me a big, red India rubber ball. King John was not a good man. Next morning when the sun rose up to tell a waiting world that Christmas had begun, and people seized their stockings, and opened them with glee, and crackers, toys and games appeared, and lips with sticky sweets were smeared, King John said grimly, as I feared, nothing again for me. I did want crackers, and I did want candy, I know a box of chocolates would come in handy, I do love oranges, I did want nuts. I haven't got a pocket knife, not one that cuts. And, oh, if Father Christmas had loved me at all, he would have brought a big, red India rubber ball. King John stood by the window, and frowned to see below the happy bands of boys and girls all playing in the snow. A while he stood there watching, and envying them all. When through the window big and red there hurtled by his royal head, and bounced and fell upon the bed, an India rubber ball. And oh, Father Christmas, My blessings on you fall for bringing him a big, red, India rubber ball. Busy, I think I am a muffin man. I haven't got a bell, I haven't got the muffin things that muffin people sell. Perhaps I am a postman. No, I think I am a tram. I'm feeling rather funny and I don't know what I am, but roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go all round the table in the nursery, roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. I think I am a traveler escaping from a bear, I think I am an elephant, behind another elephant who isn't really there. So roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. I think I am a ticket man who's selling tickets, please. I think I am a doctor who is visiting a sneeze. Perhaps I'm just a nanny who is walking with a pram. I'm feeling rather funny and I don't know what I am, but roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go all around the table in the nursery, roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. I think I am a puppy, so I'm hanging out my tongue. I think I am a camel who is looking for a camel who is looking for a camel who is looking for its young. So roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout and roundabout I go. Sneezels, Christopher Robin had wheezels and sneezels, they bundled him into his bed. They gave him what goes with a cold in the nose, and some more for a cold in the head. They wondered if wheezels could turn into measles, if sneezels would turn into mumps. They examined his chest for a rash, and the rest of his body for swellings and lumps. They sent for some doctors in sneezels and wheezels to tell them what ought to be done. All sorts and conditions of famous physicians came hurrying round at a run. They all made a note of the state of his throat, they asked if he suffered from thirst, they asked if the sneezels came after the wheezels, or if the first sneezel came first. They said, if you teasel a sneezel or wheezel, a measle may easily grow. But humor or pleasel the wheezel or sneezel, the measle will certainly go. They expounded the reasons for sneezels and wheezels, the manner of measles when new. They said if he freezels in draughts and in breezels, then theasels may even ensue. Asterisk 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 Christopher Robin got up in the morning, the sneezels had vanished away. And the look in his eye seemed to say to the sky, now, how to amuse them today. Binker Binker, what I call him is a secret of my own, and Binker is the reason why I never feel alone. Playing in the nursery, sitting on the stair, whatever I am busy at, Binker will be there. Oh, Daddy is clever, he's a clever sort of man, and Mummy is the best since the world began, and Nanny is Nanny, and I call her Nan, but they can't see Binker. Binker's always talking, 'cause I'm teaching him to speak. He sometimes likes to do it in a funny sort of squeak, and he sometimes likes to do it in a hoodling sort of roar. And I have to do it for him 'cause his throat is rather sore. Oh, Daddy is clever, he's a clever sort of man, and Mummy knows all that anybody can, and Nanny is Nanny, and I call her Nan, but they don't know Binker. Binker's brave as lions when we're running in the park, Binker's brave as tigers when we're lying in the dark, Binker's brave as elephants. He never cries. Except, like other people, when the soap gets in his eyes. Oh, Daddy is Daddy, he's a daddy sort of man, and Mummy is as Mummy as anybody can, and Nanny is Nanny, and I call her Nan. But they're not like Binker. Binker isn't greedy, but he does like things to eat, so I have to say to people when they're giving me a sweet, oh, Binker wants a chocolate, so could you give me two? And then I eat it for him, 'cause his teeth are rather new. Well, I'm very fond of Daddy, but he hasn't time to play, and I'm very fond of Mummy, but she sometimes goes away, and I'm often cross with Nanny when she wants to brush my hair. But Binker's always Binker, and is certain to be there. Cherry stones tinker, tailor, soldier, sailor, rich man, poor man, pluff boy, thief, and what about a cowboy, policeman, jailer, engine driver, or pirate chief? What about a postman or a keeper at the zoo? What about the circus man who lets the people through? And the man who takes the pennies for the roundabouts and swings, or the man who plays the organ, and the other man who sings? What about a conjurer with rabbits in his pockets? What about a rocket man who's always making rockets? Oh, there's such a lot of things to do and such a lot to be that there's always lots of cherries on my little cherry tree. The knight whose armor didn't squeak of all the knights in Appledore, the wisest was Sir Thomas Thom. He multiplied as far as 4, and knew what 9 was taken from to make 11. He could write a letter to another knight. No other knight in all the land could do the things which he could do. Not only did he understand the way to polish swords, but knew what remedy a knight should seek whose armor had begun to squeak. And, if he didn't fight too much, it wasn't that he did not care for blips and buffetings and such, but felt that it was hardly fair to risk, by frequent injuries, a brain as delicate as his. His castle, Castle Tom, was set conveniently on a hill, and daily, when it wasn't wet, he paced the battlements until some smaller knight who couldn't swim should reach the moat and challenge him. Or sometimes, feeling full of fight, he hurried out to scour the plain, and, seeing some approaching knight, he either hurried home again, or hid, and, when the foe was past, blew a triumphant trumpet blast. One day when good Sir Thomas Thom was resting in a handy ditch, the noises he was hiding from, though very much the noises which he'd always hidden from before, seemed somehow less. Or was it more? The trotting horse, the trumpet's blast, the whistling sword, the armor's squeak, these, and especially the last, had clattered by him all the week. Was this the same, or was it not? Something was different. But what? Sir Thomas raised a cautious ear and listened as Sir Hugh went by, and suddenly he seemed to hear, or not to hear, the reason why the stranger made a nicer sound than other knights who lived around. Sir Thomas watched the way he went. His rage was such he couldn't speak. For years they'd called him down in Kent the knight whose armor didn't squeak. Yet here and now he looked upon another knight whose squeak had gone. He rushed to where his horse was tied, he spurred it to a rapid trot. The only fear he felt inside about his enemy was not how sharp his sword, how stout his heart, but has he got too long a start. Sir Hugh was singing, hand on hip, when something sudden came along, and caught him a terrific blip right in the middle of his song. A thunderstorm, he thought. Of course. And toppled gently off his horse. Then said the good Sir Thomas Thom, dismounting with a friendly air, "Allow me to extract you from the heavy armor that you wear. At times like these the bravest knight may find his armor much too tight." 100 yards or so beyond the scene of brave Sir Hugh's defeat, Sir Thomas found a useful pond, and, careful not to wet his feet, he brought the armor to the brink, and flung it in, and watched it sink. So ever after, more and more, the men of Kent would proudly speak of Thomas Thom of Appledore, the knight whose armor didn't squeak, whilst Hugh, the knight who gave him best, squeaks just as badly as the rest. Buttercup days. Where is Anne? Head above the buttercups, walking by the stream, down among the buttercups. Where is Anne? Walking with her man, lost in a dream, lost among the buttercups. What has she got in that little brown head? Wonderful thoughts which can never be said. What has she got in that firm little fist of hers? Somebody's thumb, and it feels like Christopher's. Where is Anne? Close to her man. Brown head, gold head, in and out the buttercups. The charcoal burner has tales to tell. He lives in the forest, alone in the forest, he sits in the forest, alone in the forest. And the sun comes slanting between the trees, and rabbits come up, and they give him good morning, and rabbits come up and say, beautiful morning. And the moon swings clear of the tall black trees, and owls fly over and wish him good night, quietly over to wish him good night. And he sits and thinks of the things they know, he and the forest, alone together, the springs that come and the summers that go, autumn dew on bracken and heather, the drip of the forest beneath the snow. All the things they have seen, all the things they have heard, an April sky swept clean and the song of a bird. Oh, the charcoal burner has tales to tell. And he lives in the forest and knows us well. Us too, wherever I am, there's always Pooh, there's always Pooh and me, whatever I do, he wants to do. Where are you going today, says Pooh. Well, that's very odd, 'cause I was too. Let's go together, says Pooh, says he. Let's go together, says Pooh. What's twice 11? I said to Pooh. Twice what? Said Pooh to me. I think it ought to be 22. Just what I think myself, said Pooh. It wasn't an easy sum to do, but that's what it is, said Pooh, said he. That's what it is, said Pooh. Let's look for dragons, I said to Pooh. Yes, let's, said Pooh to me. We crossed the river and found a few. Yes, those are dragons all right, said Pooh. As soon as I saw their beaks I knew. That's what they are, said Pooh, said he. That's what they are, said Pooh. Let's frighten the dragons, I said to Pooh. That's right, said Pooh to me. I'm not afraid, I said to Pooh, and I held his paw and I shouted, shoo. Silly old dragons. And off they flew. I wasn't afraid, said Pooh, said he, I'm never afraid with you. So wherever I am, there's always Pooh, there's always Pooh and me. What would I do? I said to Pooh, if it wasn't for you, and Pooh said, true, it isn't much fun for one, but two can stick together, says Pooh, says he. That's how it is, says Pooh. The old sailor. There was once an old sailor my grandfather knew who had so many things which he wanted to do that, whenever he thought it was time to begin, he couldn't because of the state he was in. He was shipwrecked, and lived on an island for weeks, and he wanted a hat, and he wanted some breeks, and he wanted some nets, or a line and some hooks for the turtles and things which you read of in books. And, thinking of this, he remembered a thing which he wanted, for water, and that was a spring, and he thought that to talk to he'd look for, and keep, if he found it, a goat, or some chickens and sheep. Then, because of the weather, he wanted a hut with a door, to come in by, which opened and shut, with a jerk, which was useful if snakes were about, and a very strong lock to keep savages out. He began on the fish hooks, and when he'd begun he decided he couldn't because of the sun. So he knew what he ought to begin with, and that was to find, or to make, a large sun-stopping hat. He was making the hat with some leaves from a tree, when he thought, I'm as hot as a body can be, and I've nothing to take for my terrible thirst, so I'll look for a spring, and I'll look for it first. Then he thought as he started, oh, dear, and oh, dear. I'll be lonely tomorrow with nobody here. So he made in his notebook a couple of notes. I must first find some chickens, and no, I mean goats. He had just seen a goat, which he knew by the shape, when he thought, but I must have a boat for escape. But a boat means a sail, which means needles and thread, so I'd better sit down and make needles instead. He began on a needle, but thought as he worked, that, if this was an island where savages lurked, sitting safe in his hut he'd have nothing to fear, whereas now they might suddenly breathe in his ear. So he thought of his hut, and he thought of his boat, and his hat and his breeks, and his chickens and goat, and the hooks, for his food, and the spring, for his thirst. But he never could think which he ought to do first. And so in the end he did nothing at all, but basked on the shingle wrapped up in a shawl. And I think it was dreadful the way he behaved. He did nothing but basking until he was saved. The engineer let it rain. Who cares? I've a train upstairs, with a brake which I make from a string sort of thing, which works in jerks, 'cause it drops in the spring, which stops with the string, and the wheels all stick so quick that it feels like a thing that you make with a brake, not string. So that's what I make, when the day's all wet. It's a good sort of brake, but it hasn't worked yet. Journey's End. Christopher, where are you going, Christopher Robin? Just up to the top of the hill, upping and upping until I am right on the top of the hill, said Christopher Robin. Christopher, why are you going, Christopher Robin? There's nothing to see, so when you've got to the top, what then? Just down to the bottom again, said Christopher Robin. Furry bear, if I were a bear, and a big bear too, I shouldn't much care if it froze or snowed. I shouldn't much mind if it snowed or frizz. I'd be all fur-lined with a coat like his. For I'd have fur boots and a brown fur wrap, and brown fur knickers and a big fur cap. I'd have a fur muffle ruff to cover my jaws, and brown fur mittens on my big brown paws. With a big brown furry down up to my head, I'd sleep all the winter in a big fur bed. Forgiven, I found a little beetle, so that beetle was his name, and I called him Alexander, and he answered just the same. I put him in a matchbox, and I kept him all the day. And Nanny let my beetle out. Yes, Nanny let my beetle out. She went and let my beetle out, and beetle ran away. She said she didn't mean it, and I never said she did. She said she wanted matches and she just took off the lid. She said that she was sorry, but it's difficult to catch an excited sort of beetle you've mistaken for a match. She said that she was sorry, and I really mustn't mind, as there's lots and lots of beetles which she's certain we could find, if we looked about the garden for the holes where beetles hid, and we'd get another matchbox and write beetle on the lid. We went to all the places which a beetle might be near, and we made the sort of noises which a beetle likes to hear, and I saw a kind of something, and I gave a sort of shout, a beetle house and Alexander Beetle coming out. It was Alexander Beetle, I'm as certain as can be, and he had a sort of look as if he thought it must be me, and he had a sort of look as if he thought he ought to say, I'm very, very sorry that I tried to run away. And Nanny's very sorry too, for you know what she did, and she's writing Alexander very blackly on the lid. So Nan and me are friends, because it's difficult to catch an excited Alexander you've mistaken for a match. The emperor's rhyme. The king of Peru, who was emperor too, had a sort of a rhyme which was useful to know, if he felt very shy when a stranger came by, or they asked him the time when his watch didn't go, or supposing he fell, by mistake, down a well, or he tumbled when skating and sat on his hat, or perhaps wasn't told, till his porridge was cold, that his breakfast was waiting, or something like that. Oh, whenever the emperor got into a temper, or felt himself sulky or sad, he would murmur and murmur, until he felt firmer, this curious rhyme which he had, 8 8s are 64, multiply by 7. When it's done, carry 1 and take away 11, 9 9s are 81, multiply by 3. If it's more, carry 4, and then it's time for tea. So whenever the queen took his armor to clean, and she didn't remember to use any starch, or his birthday, in May, was a horrible day, being wet as November and windy as March, or, if sitting in state with the wise and the great, he just happened to hiccup while signing his name, or the queen gave a cough, when his crown tumbled off as he bent down to pick up a pen for the same, oh, whenever the emperor got into a temper, or felt himself awkward and shy, he would whisper and whisper, until he felt crisper, this odd little rhyme to the sky, 8 eights are 81, multiply by 7. If it's more, carry 4, and take away 11. 9 nines are 64, multiply by 3. When it's done, carry 1, and then it's time for tea. Knight in armor. Whenever I'm a shining knight, I buckle on my armor tight, and then I look about for things like rushings out, and rescuings, and savings from the dragon's lair, and fighting all the dragons there. And sometimes when our fights begin, I think I'll let the dragons win. And then I think perhaps I won't, because they're dragons, and I don't. Come out with me, there's sun on the river and sun on the hill. You can hear the sea if you stand quite still. There's 8 new puppies at Roundabout Farm, and I saw an old sailor with only one arm. But everyone says, run along. Run along, run along. All of them say run along. I'm busy as can be. Everyone says, run along, there's a little darling. If I'm a little darling, why don't they run with me? There's wind on the river and wind on the hill. There's a dark dead water wheel under the mill. I saw a fly which had just been drowned, and I know where a rabbit goes into the ground. But everyone says, run along. Run along, run along. All of them say yes, dear, and never notice me. Everyone says, run along, there's a little darling. If I'm a little darling, why won't they come and see? Down by the pond I'm fishing. Don't talk, anybody, don't come near. Can't you see that the fish might hear? He thinks I'm playing with a piece of string, he thinks I'm another sort of funny sort of thing, but he doesn't know I'm fishing, he doesn't know I'm fishing. That's what I'm doing, fishing. No, I'm not, I'm nuding. Don't cough, anybody, don't come by. Any small noise makes a newt feel shy. He thinks I'm a bush, or a new sort of tree, he thinks it's somebody, but doesn't think it's me, and he doesn't know I'm nuding. No, he doesn't know I'm nuding. That's what I'm doing, nuding. The little black hen, Berryman and Baxter, Prettyboy and Penn and old farmer Middleton are 5 big men. And all of them were after the little black hen. She ran quickly, they ran fast, Baxter was first, and Berryman was last. I sat and watched by the old plum tree. She squawked through the hedge and she came to me. The little black hen said, "Oh, it's you." I said, "Thank you, how do you do? And please will you tell me, little black hen, what did they want, those 5 big men?" The little black hen, she said to me, "They want me to lay them an egg for tea. If they were emperors, if they were kings, I'm much too busy to lay them things. I'm not a king and I haven't a crown, I climb up trees, and I tumble down. I can shut one eye, I can count to 10, so lay me an egg, please, little black hen." The little black hen said, "What will you pay, if I lay you an egg for Easter Day?" "I'll give you a please and a how do you do, I'll show you the bear who lives in the zoo, I'll show you the nettle place on my leg, if you'll lay me a great big Eastery egg." The little black hen said, "I don't care for a how do you do or a big brown bear, but I'll lay you a beautiful Eastery egg, if you'll show me the nettle place on your leg." I showed her the place where I had my sting. She touched it gently with one black wing. "Nettles don't hurt if you count to 10. And now for the egg," said the little black hen. "When I wake up on Easter Day, I shall see my egg she's promised to lay. If I were emperors, if I were kings, it couldn't be fuller of wonderful things." Berryman and Baxter, Prettyboy and Penn, and old farmer Middleton are 5 big men. All of them are wanting an egg for their tea, but the little black hen is much too busy, the little black hen is much too busy, the little black hen is much too busy. She's laying my egg for me. The friend, there are lots and lots of people who are always asking things, like dates, and pounds and ounces and the names of funny kings, and the answer's either sixpence or 100 inches long, and I know they'll think me silly if I get the answer wrong. So Pooh and I go whispering, and Pooh looks very bright, and says, well, I say sixpence, but I don't suppose I'm right, and then it doesn't matter what the answer ought to be, 'cause if he's right, I'm right, and if he's wrong, it isn't me, the good little girl. It's funny how often they say to me, Jane, have you been a good girl? Have you been a good girl? And when they have said it, they say it again, have you been a good girl? Have you been a good girl? I go to a party, I go out to tea, I go to an aunt for a week at the sea, I come back from school or from playing a game, wherever I come from, it's always the same, well? Have you been a good girl, Jane? It's always the end of the loveliest day, have you been a good girl? Have you been a good girl? I went to the zoo, and they waited to say, have you been a good girl? Have you been a good girl? Well, what did they think that I went there to do? And why should I want to be bad at the zoo? And should I be likely to say if I had? So that's why it's funny of Mummy and Dad, this asking and asking, in case I was bad, well. Have you been a good girl, Jane? I thought if I were John and John were me, then he'd be 6 and I'd be 3. If John were me and I were John, I shouldn't have these trousers on. King Hilary and the Beggarman of Hilary the Great and Good. They tell a tale at Christmas time. I've often thought the story would be prettier but just as good if almost anybody should translate it into rhyme. So I have done the best I can for lack of some more learned man. Good King Hilary said to his Chancellor, proud Lord Willoughby, Lord High Chancellor, run to the wicket gate quickly, quickly, run to the wicket gate and see who is knocking. It may be a rich man, sea-born from Araby, bringing me peacocks, emeralds, and ivory. It may be a poor man, travel-worn and weary, bringing me oranges to put in my stocking. Proud Lord Willoughby, Lord High Chancellor, laughed both loud and free. One, I've served your Majesty, man to man, since first your Majesty's reign began, and I've often walked, but I never, never ran, never, 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 quoth he. One, haw, haw, haw. Good King Hilary said to his Chancellor, proud Lord Willoughby, Lord High Chancellor, walk to the wicket gate quickly, quickly, walk to the wicket gate and see who is knocking. It may be a captain, hawk-nosed, bearded, bringing me gold dust, spices, and sandalwood. It may be a scullion, carefree, whistling, bringing me sugar plums to put in my stocking. Proud Lord Willoughby, Lord High Chancellor, laughed both loud and free. I've served in the palace since I was 4, and I'll serve in the palace a many years more, and I've opened a window, but never a door, never, 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 quoth he. Good King Hilary said to his Chancellor, proud Lord Willoughby, Lord High Chancellor, open the window quickly, quickly, open the window and see who is knocking. It may be a waiting maid, apple-cheeked, dimpled, sent by her mistress to bring me greeting. It may be children, anxious, whispering, bringing me cobnuts, to put in my stocking. Proud Lord Willoughby, Lord High Chancellor, laughed both loud and free. I'll serve your Majesty till I die as Lord Chancellor, not as spy to peep from lattices. No, not I, never, 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 quoth he. Good King Hilary looked at his Chancellor, proud Lord Willoughby, Lord High Chancellor. He said no word to his stiff-set Chancellor, but ran to the wicket gate to see who was knocking. He found no rich man trading from Araby, he found no captain, blue-eyed, weather-tanned, he found no waiting maid sent by her mistress, but only a beggarman with one red stocking. Good King Hilary looked at the beggarman, and laughed him 3 times 3, and he turned that beggarman round about. Your thews are strong, and your arm is stout, come, throw me a Lord High Chancellor out, and take his place, quoth he. Of Hilary the good and great old wives at Christmas time relate this tale, which points, at any rate, 2 morals on the way. The first, whatever fortune brings, don't be afraid of doing things. Especially, of course, for kings. It also seems to say, but not so wisely, he who begs with one red stocking on his legs will be, as sure as eggs are eggs, a chancellor some day. Swing song, here I go up in my swing ever so high. I am the king of the fields, and the king of the town. I am the king of the earth, and the king of the sky. Here I go up in my swing. Now I go down. Explained Elizabeth and said to her Nan, please will you tell me how God began? Somebody must have made him. So who could it be, 'cause I want to know. And Nurse said, well. And Anne said, well. I know you know, and I wish you'd tell. And Nurse took pins from her mouth, and said, now then, darling, it's time for bed. Elizabeth Ann had a wonderful plan. She would run round the world till she found a man who knew exactly how God began. She got up early, she dressed, and ran trying to find an important man. She ran to London and knocked at the door of the Lord High Doodleum's coach and four. Please, sir, if there's anyone in, however and ever did God begin. The Lord High Doodleum lay in bed, but out of the window, large and red, came the Lord High Coachman's face instead. And the Lord High Coachman laughed and said, well, what put that in your quaint little head? Elizabeth Ann went home again and took from the ottoman Jennifer Jane. Jennifer Jane, said Elizabeth Ann, tell me at once how God began. And Jane, who didn't much care for speaking, replied in her usual way by squeaking. What did it mean? Well, to be quite candid, I don't know, but Elizabeth Ann did. Elizabeth Ann said softly, oh. Thank you, Jennifer. Now I know. Twice times there were 2 little bears who lived in a wood, and one of them was bad and the other was good. Good bear learned his twice times one, but bad bear left all his buttons undone. They lived in a tree when the weather was hot, and one of them was good, and the other was not. Good bear learned his twice times 2, but bad bear's thin gummies were worn right through. They lived in a cave when the weather was cold, and they didn't do, what they were told. Good bear learned his twice times 3, but bad bear never had his handkerchief. They lived in the wood with a kind old aunt, and one said yes'm, and the other said shanty. Good bear learned his twice times 4, but bad bear's nick eddies were terrible tore. And then quite suddenly, just like us, one got better and the other got wuss. Good bear muddled his twice times 3, but bad bear coughed in his handkerchief. Good bear muddled his twice times 2, but bad bear's thin gummies looked like new. Good bear muddled his twice times 1, but bad bear never left his buttons undone. There may be a moral, though some say not. I think there's a moral, though I don't know what. But if one gets better, as the other gets wuss, these 2 little bears are just like us. For Christopher remembers up to twice times 10. But I keep forgetting where I put my pen to, so I have had to write this one in pencil. The morning walk, when Ann and I go out a walk, we hold each other's hand and talk of all the things we mean to do when Ann and I are 42. And when we've thought about a thing, like bowling hoops or bicycling, or falling down on Ann's balloon, we do it in the afternoon. Cradle song. Oh Timothy Tim has 10 pink toes, and 10 pink toes has Timothy Tim. They go with him wherever he goes, and wherever he goes they go with him. Oh Timothy Tim has 2 blue eyes, and 2 blue eyes has Timothy Tim. They cry with him whenever he cries, and whenever he cries, they cry with him. Oh Timothy Tim has one red head, and one red head has Timothy Tim. It sleeps with him in Timothy's bed. Sleep well, red head of Timothy Tim. Waiting at the window, these are my 2 drops of rain waiting on the window pane. I am waiting here to see which the winning one will be. Both of them have different names. One is John and one is James. All the best and all the worst comes from which of them is first. James has just begun to ooze. He's the one I want to lose. John is waiting to begin. He's the one I want to win. James is going slowly on. Something sort of sticks to John. John is moving off at last. James is going pretty fast. John is rushing down the pane. James is going slow again. James has met a sort of smear. John is getting very near. Is he going fast enough? James has found a piece of fluff. John has hurried quickly by. James was talking to a fly. John is there, and John has won. Look. I told you. Here's the sun. Pinkle Purr Tattoo was the mother of Pinkle Purr, a little black nothing of feet and fur, and by, when his eyes came through, he saw his mother, the big Tattoo. And all that he learned from her. I'll ask my mother, says Pinkle Purr. Tattoo was the mother of Pinkle Purr, a ridiculous kitten with silky fur. And little black Pinkle grew and grew till he got as big as the big Tattoo. And all that he did with her. 2 friends together, says Pinkle Purr. Tattoo was the mother of Pinkle Purr, an adventurous cat in a coat of fur. And whenever he thought of a thing to do, he didn't much bother about Tattoo, for he knows it's nothing to do with her, so see you later, says Pinkle Purr. Tattoo is the mother of Pinkle Purr, an enormous leopard with coal black fur. A little brown kitten that's nearly new is now playing games with its big Tattoo. And Pink looks lazily down at her. Dear little Tat, says Pinkle Purr. Wind on the hill, no one can tell me, nobody knows, where the wind comes from, where the wind goes. It's flying from somewhere as fast as it can, I couldn't keep up with it, not if I ran. But if I stopped holding the string of my kite, it would blow with the wind for a day and a night. And then when I found it, wherever it blew, I should know that the wind had been going there too. So then I could tell them where the wind goes. But where the wind comes from nobody knows. Forgotten lords of the nursery wait in a row, 5 on the high wall, and 4 on the low, big kings and little kings, brown bears and black, all of them waiting till John comes back. Some think that John boy is lost in the wood, some say he couldn't be, some say he could. Some think that John boy hides on the hill, some say he won't come back, some say he will. High was the sun, when John went away. Here they've been waiting all through the day, big bears and little bears, white kings and black, all of them waiting till John comes back. Lords of the nursery looked down the hill, some saw the sheepfold, some saw the mill, some saw the roofs of the little grey town. And their shadows grew long as the sun slipped down. Gold between the poplars an old moon shows, silver up the starway the full moon rose, silver down the starway the old moon crept. And, one by another, the grey fields slept. Lords of the nursery their still watch keep. They hear from the sheepfold the rustle of sheep. A young bird twitters and hides its head, a little wind suddenly breathes, and is dead. Slowly and slowly dawns the new day. What's become of John boy? No one can say. Some think that John boy is lost on the hill, some say he won't come back, some say he will. What's become of John boy? Nothing at all. He played with his skipping rope, he played with his ball. He ran after butterflies, blue ones and red, he did 100 happy things and then went to bed. In the dark I've had my supper, and had my supper, and had my supper and all. I've heard the story of Cinderella, and how she went to the ball. I've cleaned my teeth, and I've said my prayers, and I've cleaned and said them right, and they've all of them been and kissed me lots, they've all of them said good night. So here I am in the dark alone, there's nobody here to see, I think to myself, I play to myself, and nobody knows what I say to myself. Here I am in the dark alone, what is it going to be? I can think whatever I like to think, I can play whatever I like to play, I can laugh whatever I like to laugh, there's nobody here but me. I'm talking to a rabbit. I'm talking to the sun. I think I am 100, I'm one. I'm lying in a forest. I'm lying in a cave. I'm talking to a dragon. I'm brave. I'm lying on my left side. I'm lying on my right. I'll play a lot tomorrow. I'll think a lot tomorrow. I'll laugh, a lot, tomorrow. Hey ho. Good night. The end. When I was 1, I had just begun. When I was 2, I was nearly new. When I was 3, I was hardly me. When I was 4, I was not much more. When I was 5, I was just alive. But now I am 6, I'm as clever as clever. So I think I'll be 6 now forever and ever. New Uniform Edition. These inimitable and imperishable Milne classics with the shepherd drawings are now available, for the first time, in a new edition, uniform with this volume. When We Were Very Young, the most popular book of child verse of modern times. Now We Are 6, a companion volume of verse to When We Were Very Young. Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin are among the most treasured characters of Storyland. The house at Pooh Corner. There just had to be another story about Christopher Robin and his 7 friends: Pooh, Piglet, Owl, Tigger, etc. Published by E.P. Dutton and Co., Inc. Other books for boys and girls by A. A. Milne. The Christopher Robin verses fully illustrated by E. H. Shepard, with 12 plates in color. The Christopher Robin Storybook illustrated by E. H. Shepard. The Christopher Robin Birthday Book illustrated by E. H. Shepard. The Christopher Robin Reader collected by A. A. Milne from his 4 books of poetry and prose, including selections recommended by the New York City Board of Education. Songbooks from the poems of A. A. Milne with music by H. Fraser Simpson and decorations by E. H. Shepard. 14 songs: Teddy Bear and Other Songs. Songs from Now We Are 6, The King's Breakfast. More Very Young songs: The Hums of Pooh. End of the Project Gutenberg ebook. Now We Are 6 updated editions will replace the previous one. The old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation, and you, can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark concept and trademark. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark, and may not be used if you charge for an ebook, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use of the Project Gutenberg trademark. If you do not charge anything for copies of this ebook, complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this ebook for nearly any purpose, such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances, and research. Project Gutenberg ebooks may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with ebooks not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start, full license. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work to protect the Project Gutenberg trademark mission of promoting the free distribution of electronic works, by using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg. you agree to comply with all the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark license available with this file or online at www.gutenberg.org/license. Section 1. General Terms of Use and Redistributing Project Gutenberg Trademark Electronic Works 1.a. By reading or using any part of this Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work, you indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright, agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or destroy all copies of Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works in your possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to a Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work and you do not agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1.e.8. 1.b. Project Gutenberg is a registered trademark. It may only be used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few things that you can do with most Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1.c below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works if you follow the terms of this agreement and help preserve free future access to Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works. See paragraph 1.e below. 1.c. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the Foundation or PGLOF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection of Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works. Nearly all the individual works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying, or creating derivative works based on the work as long as all references to Project Gutenberg are removed. Of course, we hope that you will support the Project Gutenberg trademark mission of promoting free access to electronic works by freely sharing Project Gutenberg trademark works in compliance with the terms of this agreement for keeping the Project Gutenberg trademark name associated with the work. You can easily comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the same format with its attached full Project Gutenberg trademark license when you share it without charge with others. 1.d. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work or any other Project Gutenberg trademark work. The Foundation makes no representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1.e. Unless you have removed all references to Project Gutenberg, 1.e.1. The following sentence, with active links to, or other immediate access to, the full Project Gutenberg trademark license must appear prominently whenever any copy of a Project Gutenberg trademark work, any work on which the phrase Project Gutenberg appears, or with which the phrase Project Gutenberg is associated, is accessed, displayed, performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this ebook or online at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. 1.e.2. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work is derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law, does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder, the work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 or obtain permission for the use of the work and the Project Gutenberg trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.3. If an individual Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work is posted with the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1.e.1 through 1.e.7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms will be linked to the Project Gutenberg trademark license for all works posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. 1.e.4. Do not unlink or detach or remove the full Project Gutenberg trademark license terms from this work, or any files containing a part of this work or any other work associated with Project Gutenberg trademark. 1.e.5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1.e.1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg trademark license. 1.e.6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access to or distribute copies of a Project Gutenberg trademark work in a format other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official version posted on the official Project Gutenberg trademark website, www.gutenberg.org, you must, at no additional cost, fee, or expense to the user, provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy, or a means of obtaining a copy upon request, of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the full Project Gutenberg trademark license as specified in paragraph 1.e.1. 1.e.7. Do not charge a fee for access to, viewing, displaying, performing, copying or distributing any Project Gutenberg trademark works unless you comply with paragraph 1.e.8 or 1.e.9. 1.e.8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or providing access to or distributing Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works provided that, you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from the use of Project Gutenberg trademark works calculated using the method you already use to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed to the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark, but he has agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Section 4, Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing, or by email, within 30 days of receipt that he does not agree to the terms of the full Project Gutenberg trademark license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue all use of and all access to other copies of Project Gutenberg trademark works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1.f.3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark works. 1.E.9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing from the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the manager of the Project Gutenberg trademark. Contact the Foundation as set forth in Section 3 below. 1.F1.F.1. Project Gutenberg volunteers and employees expend considerable effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the Project Gutenberg trademark collection. Despite these efforts, Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects, such as, but not limited to, incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus, or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1.F.2. Limited warranty, disclaimer of damages, except for the right of replacement or refund described in paragraph 1.F.3. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs, and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract except those provided in paragraph 1.F.3. You agree that the Foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive, or incidental damages even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1.F.3. Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1.F.4. Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1.F.3, this work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1.F.5. Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1.F.6. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the Foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the Foundation, anyone providing copies of Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the production, promotion, and distribution of Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs, and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this or any Project Gutenberg trademark work. B. Alteration, modification, or additions or deletions to any Project Gutenberg trademark work. And C. Any defect you cause. Section 2. Information about the mission of Project Gutenberg trademark. Project Gutenberg trademark is synonymous with the free distribution of electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged, and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the assistance they need are critical to reaching Project Gutenberg trademark's goals and ensuring that the Project Gutenberg trademark collection will remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure and permanent future for Project Gutenberg trademark and future generations. To learn more about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation and how your efforts and donations can help, see sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. Section 3. Information about the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation is a nonprofit 501(c)(3) educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's IN or Federal Tax Identification Number is 64-6221541. Contributions to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 809 North 1500 West, Salt Lake City, Utah 841-16801-596-1887. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact. Section 4. Information about donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Project Gutenberg trademark depends upon and cannot survive without widespread public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment, including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork, and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff. Please check the Project Gutenberg web pages for current donation methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways, including checks, online payments, and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Section 5. General information about Project Gutenberg trademark electronic works. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg trademark concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and distributed Project Gutenberg trademark ebooks with only a loose network of volunteer support. Project Gutenberg trademark ebooks are often created from several printed editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the U.S. unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, We do not necessarily keep ebooks in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org. This website includes information about Project Gutenberg trademark, including how to make donations to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new ebooks, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new ebooks. Now we are 6 Introduction Contents. Now we are 6 Solitude, King John's Christmas, Sneasels, Binker, Cherry Stones, The Knight Whose Armor Didn't Squeak, Buttercup Days, The Charcoal Burner, US2, The Old Sailor, The Engineer, Journey's End, Furry Bear, Forgiven, The Emperor's Rhyme, Knight in Armor, Come Out With Me, Down by the Pond, The Little Black Hen, The Friend, The Good Little Girl, A Thought, King Hilary and the Beg, Ermine, Swing Song, Explained Twice Times, The Morning Walk, Cradle Song. Waiting at the Window, Pinkle Per Wind on the Hill, Forgotten in the Dark, The End, New Uniform Edition, When We Were Very Young. Now we are 6 Winnie the Pooh, The House at Pooh Corner, published by E.P. Dutton & Co., Inc. Other books for boys and girls, The Christopher Robin vs. The Christopher Robin Storybook, The Christopher Robin Birthday Book, The Christopher Robin Reader Song, books from the poems of A. A. Milne, the full Project Gutenberg license.